100 plus NYPD cops identified as a potential problem. My first thought is only 100. Just 100? Okay. New York Police Department program designed to identify police officers likely to break departmental rules has red flagged more than 100 cops for a second time, raising concerns that efforts to rein in potential problematic officers are ineffective. You think? Since it began August 2020, the NYPD's early intervention program aimed at curbing bad police practices without disciplining officers has investigated the service records of 1,494 cops. New York Daily News with the details. During the first 3 months of this year, 362 officers became part of that tally after raising eyebrows in the department for having multiple civilian complaints or other issues. Of those 362 officers flagged from January to March of 2023, total of 106 of them, 29%, let's call it a third, went on to be flagged again between April and June, the data shows. So many officers were flagged twice in the first 6 months of 2023. It's most alarming revelation. That from Christopher Dunn, legal director of the New York Civil Liberties Union. That is a clear indicator the early intervention program is failing to curb misconduct, Dunn said, of the data presented in the program's most recent report. The early intervention program aims to make sure officers comply with the law as they enforce the law by taking a close look at those who face such problems as accusations of bias or having, within a 12-month period, at least 3 arrests that borough district attorneys declined to prosecute. Other red flags that might signal officers are possible candidates for future rule breaking include involvement in vehicle pursuits, having their courtroom testimony deemed non-credible by judges, a judicial ruling in which criminal evidence they presented is suppressed, allegations of multiple abuses of force. 1494 reviews resulted in 280 interventions, including 55 in the first 3 months of 2023. Under the program, interventions can include retraining, enhanced supervisor, or a change in assignment. Interventions are seen as a way to correct wrongdoings without disciplining the officers. Let's talk about the critics of this. Can I raise my hand and be one too? Critics of the intervention program's effectiveness are also concerned that 265 cops were scrutinized in the first 3 months of 2023 because they had at least 3 arrests in a 12-month time frame that were not prosecuted. NYPD said the number of declined prosecution cases is not as high as it appears, given that the category was not reviewed in the last quarter of 2023. Noted that prosecutorial discretion was the main reason. The spokesman adding that because of a change in policy, many low-level offenses are not being prosecuted. Is that a good thing? And in other corrupt cop-related news, already disgraced ex-Suffolk County Police Chief James Burke was arrested Tuesday morning for soliciting a sex worker inside Farmingville Park, Long Island, officials announced. Burke, who joined the county police department in 1986, was busted by county police with the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office saying he was charged with public lewdness and exposure of a person. Suffolk County executive spokeswoman Mary Kate Guilfoyle said he'd faced charges of soliciting a sex act and criminal solicitation too. Additional possible charges were pending against the ex-lawman. One-time county chief of department pleaded guilty in 2016 after resigning his police position for assaulting a suspect in custody after the man broke into his department vehicle. He admitted to violating the civil rights of the victim and then orchestrating the cover-up of his crime. 56-year-old Burke, who was promoted to the high-ranking position in 2012, tried to avoid jail by claiming he needed to assist his cancer-stricken mom. He was a 31-year veteran of the department. Officials say the new arrest came at 10:15 a.m. with Burke taken into custody at the Suffolk County Vietnam Veterans Memorial Park. Suffolk County Park Rangers placed Burke under arrest. Rangers had been monitoring the site in the wake of complaints about people that they'd been soliciting sex there when Burke allegedly attempted to do so with a plainclothes officer. Burke was sentenced to 46 months in federal prison after his convictions in the December 14, 2012 beating of the Smithtown man who was handcuffed and in custody at the 4th Precinct in Suffolk County. He faced possible sentence of 20 years at his February 26, 2016 court appearance. Now, prosecutors said at the time of Burke's arrest, they had 11 cooperating officers who witnessed the beatdown. Burke even admitted to beating drug addict Christopher Loeb after the man broke into this department SUV outside his home. Loeb made off with a duffel bag holding a gun belt, ammunition, handcuffs, several sex toys. I don't want to just glaze over that, Max. I'm gonna pause right there. Okay. It doesn't say that a service weapon was in there, but a gun belt was, as were apparently sex toys. I don't know that you should be leaving certain things though in your police vehicles. Wouldn't that be a department rule? The sex toys, I mean, I guess. Well, I don't know. Is that up to him? Did they take no position on that? Box of cigars. Loeb reached a $1.5 million federal court settlement with Suffolk County, the taxpayers, after bringing a lawsuit in the case. Critics also questioned Burke's handling of the Gilgo Beach killings. Okay, the serial killer. This guy, very scary guy. The first 3 victims discovered in late 2010 on Long Island, not long after he was appointed chief of police in 2011. Burke cut ties with FBI investigators assisting in the probe of the killing spree, but the cases went unsolved until earlier this year when Manhattan architect Rex Heuermann was arrested for the killings. I have just read a lot of details, just presented a lot of details to you. I don't see, did you hear one thing good there, Max? Let's start with this program that is an intervention for NYPD officers without any kind of punishment. And then it goes to this little farce, at least that's my view, about retraining. How do you retrain someone not to beat up somebody, not to lie and make up and put a false police report together? Is that about training or character? Isn't that a pre-screen thing?
Yeah, I mean, as a New Yorker, 100 problem cops is way undercounting it. I mean, I'll run into 100 problem cops just walking through Harlem. It is not a small group of people. And if you read those actual words in that program, it's insane to take it on its own. And they say if you violate the civil rights of 3 different people by arresting them for nothing, and if you lie to a judge 3 times, then you'll be referred to a program where the punishment is nothing. And they're wondering why it doesn't work. I mean, and it doesn't work because, quite honestly, we have a mayor of New York, a former police officer himself, who is actively defending the NYPD, who's saying you shouldn't have your hands tied in how you deal with things, that we should get the Civilian Complaint Review Board off your back, that you should have less accountability. And then we're surprised when the people who are committing some of the most grievous violations in the city are police officers. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that the Suffolk County Sheriff has done this. He's been known for quite a while to be someone with no regard for the law. And it took an entire department to bring him to accountability. I mean, and now the mayor's made it even harder.
Yeah, because there's something about putting on that uniform, okay? And think about it. If these cooperating witnesses finally did something, his conduct had to be far worse than what I just disseminated, okay? It was probably unconscionable. This is bad, it's what we don't know, right? And you're right about Mayor Adams, who I always thought SNL in the beginning, maybe in the beginning, was a little unfair. Now bring on this sketch comedy, will you? More skits, please. This is a guy who said, I was beaten so severely, in my youth. I wanted to become a cop to clean this up. And then he sold us this. Remember that crowded race where, I don't know, maybe he got 2 votes and everybody else got a half and he became the mayor. And now look what he's doing. But let's button it with this, the serial killer, sex crimes and then murder, okay? He was on Craigslist and other places looking for sex and he targeted certain women. And the accusation is he then killed them. Why would this chief kind of just, I mean, I have a thought as to why the investigation stalled and he didn't want the FBI nosing around in his business. Maybe because the chief, who, he's been caught looking for sex in the wrong places, perhaps exploiting people. I just see that could have been a link. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I mean, this is a notorious situation here in the city. And one of the reasons that this sheriff cut off relations with the FBI was because they publicly suspected that it may have been a former police officer and he didn't want them poking around the department. It tells you a lot that 10 years later, this new sheriff cooperates with the FBI and finds this serial killer within a year. I mean, this could have been wrapped up long ago, and it's a real shame for the citizens in that community that they had such a bad law enforcement at the head.
And somebody, at least we know, might still be alive. Yeah. Self-preservation, protecting the blue. I don't know, not wanting your sex toys to be found. That's really why he beat the guy up, because the guy had a hold of the duffel bag and it had toys in it. That's, again, disclaimer. I don't have any proof of that, but that's what I think. It's my gut. Okay, it was about the sex toys. Despicable.
Were the sex toys in a holster?
Who knows? Okay, because I do think this is a kinky guy. This went on for how long? He's a very kinky guy, and there's nothing wrong with being kinky. It's just when you kind of flip the script and you're corrupting and you're in a position of power and you're using it in illegal ways. Be as kinky as you want to be, okay? Just not in your cruiser and not on the taxpayer dime.